And I'm Crazy Susie.
And we are in the Eyes of Terror.
And we're wrapping up January, our favorite lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is going to be Deathbed.
The bed that eats. Or Deathbed. The bed that makes everything sound like it's crunching into an apple.
That must have been a very good sound effect. Nice, crisp apple crunch, crunch, crunch.
Everything sounds like an apple in this.
Deathbed came out in 1977. It is not rated. It is a horror film. It is 1 hour and 17 minutes long.
No, it was made in 1977. It didn't come out until like 2000 something.
Okay, it was produced in 1977. IMDb gives it a 4.4 out of 10. I was pretty surprised that the number was so high. The director was George Barry. He also was the writer.
And if memory serves correctly, this is George Barry's only movie.
Maybe, I don't know. The cast are Deminey Hall plays Diane. William Russ plays Sharon's brother. Julie Ritter plays Suzanne. Linda Bond plays the Resurrected. Patrick Spence Thomas plays the voice of the artist. Rosa Luxemburg plays Sharon. And many more. Not too many more, but there are others. The estimated budget for this film was $30,000, which I felt that was quite a lot for a film that was so simple. The location is very interesting. The location for this film is Garwood Mansion in Detroit, Michigan. The storyline is a bed possessed by a demon spirit consumes its users alive. Never heard of any movie anywhere near the idea of this, but...
Well, you know, they don't make movies like this anymore.
No, it's a very unique perspective.
Yes.
Did you want to... You think we should share the user review?
Yeah, sure. Let's do a user review.
Do you want to read it?
I can. All right. Deathbed, the film from another universe. Read by Rivethead808. I'm not sure what I can add that hasn't already been said in some of these other fine and quite hilarious comments, but I'll try. So you know the plot. There is a bed possessed by a demon that absorbs and selectively disintegrates bodies of whoever or whatever lays on it with the orange soda-filled body. We have the man in some scenes looking uncannily like Robert Smith of The Cure, hanging out inside the wall, commenting on going-ons. We have our various victims that just can't resist the comfort of this mystical bed. This is not an ordinary bed. No siree, Bob. Not only does it eat people, but it cleans up after itself, draws the covers back, and even makes itself. Who wouldn't want a bed like that? It can even use its sheets as a rudimentary lasso to wrangle escaping victims back in, especially if they're taking up half the length of the film to try and escape. Our main story, if you can call it that, is about these three girls who go out to this remote area to house sit. I don't recall exactly, but it doesn't really matter, though, as there are plenty of things that defy convention that you just have to give in and accept. The dialogue in the film is like no other. The characters talk to each other seemingly by telepathy, as their mouths never seem to move, and there is a constant echo. One of our girls believes that she isn't like the rest of the gang, and makes sure to tell us all her feelings on the matters through the echoey voiceover. But we don't care. Character development was thrown out the window a long time ago in this film, so why start now? There are scenes when the bed laughs, snores, crunches, and makes various other noises that we assume, judging by our cast's non-reactive to said noises, can't be heard. This and the telepathy makes the issue of Daiki's Diegees? Very difficult to assert, but that's okay. This is Deathbed, the bed that eats, and it defies all logic, so it's okay. It makes for a lush, dreamy quality to this most bizarre film. If you buy, buy, did I say buy, this DVD, make sure to check out the introduction by the director. He explains that the film of this flick started in 1972, didn't wrap up until 1977. He shopped it a few years with no luck, and then fast forward 26 years later to 2003, it gets released to DVD. Supposedly, somebody somewhere had a print of this in some other country and made bootleg after bootleg of it. And it was quite by chance on a message board, no less, that our director found evidence that people knew and gasped, cared about this little known film. It's from there that he decided to give it a shot and release it. I'm glad he did. Once you've even so much as heard the title of this film, you must see it. I, for one, am going to buy this, and I'm going to preach its gospel around the world, starting with this comment.
I'm sorry, that's hilarious. Stuff like that we have to share because, we realize that there's other crazy people like us in the world. Okay. And we did watch this on YouTube, so you can watch it on the YouTubes.
Yep, without the director's commentary, though, so...
Yes. I like to form my own opinion about things. Anyway, as the film begins...
Breakfast.
You see the title, Breakfast, come across the screen. And it begins with the mansion, with a room. In the room is a painting, with its creator trapped inside. Also in the room is a large bed. It's a beautiful bed. It's a 4-poster bed. A very antique looking bed.
It looks very sturdy.
It has very ornate carvings in it. It has the drapery, the older style bed where you could draw the drapery shut. That way you don't get woken up by the sun or whatever. It's near dark and a couple arrives. The bed locks the doors to the other parts of the mansion, so the couple has no choice but to come into the room where it is.
And there's really no explanation of why this room is you literally just start out like you don't know anything other than this is a
Nothing's
bed.
Explained. Later on it explains, but not at this point. The painting creator says, if only I could speak beyond this painting and warn them. They go in and get comfortable. They bring a snack. They start making out. She asks him to lock the door.
Well, he said something like that really sort of resonated with me from the first get-go. She goes, he said like, "Oh, don't worry. This is a very remote area. Nobody ever hardly anybody knows of this place."
Right, and he says people haven't been here in years.
Yeah. It must put an ad on Craigslist or something that day.
He's like, no one has been here in years. So he gets up and goes to lock the door. It's already locked. He's like, oh, the door's already locked. At no point does this raise any red flags with either of them. They're like, okay.
Well, he's just trying to get a piece.
He's like, it's no big deal. So,
but we do know that there's something weird with the bed because as we enter into the room via video, you do hear something snoring.
Yeah.
So
there's a snoring, heavy breathing sound, and you're like, okay.
And there's a fire that he puts out. The bed puts out by telepathy.
He evidently has control over the entire property, what happens with it. So, anyway, so he checks to see if the door is locked, and it already is. So he returns to the bed, and they start making out again.
And she's like, "Oh, we should eat. Oh, I'm hungry." I mean, she's like trying to stop it, like, and then he's like, "Oh, you know, we get to eat later." He's trying to be all romantic with his dollar candle, like put a little candle on the floor. And
Yeah, he put a candle on the floor. Well, they brought a bottle of wine, and they brought a bucket of chicken and 2 apples. Well, he puts all these things on the bed when they first come in, and they're making out with this food on the bed.
And the bed is pre-made, and it's not dirty, and that doesn't raise any flags either. Nobody's been on it for a while, but hey, look, these linens are fresh.
Yeah, there's no dust on the bed, no weird bugs on the bed, nothing like that.
And you know, normal beds snore, so that helps too.
No, they woke him up when they came.
Yeah, they did.
When they came on the property, it got his attention. The painting said he hadn't ate in 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so the couple is making out, and this foam starts rising up. This bed must be really talented.
And everybody must be stupid.
Because this couple is laying here in this bed, and they're making out, and he's eating the food around them. They're still there. And the apples get sucked into the bed, and you hear crunch. And he pushes the core back up, and the core of the apples are sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
He sucks in the wine bottle. You hear the cork pop, pop, and you hear
Glug, glug, glug. Yeah. And then it's all within this like weird orange like liquid
slurry.
Yeah. And I mean, especially with red, it really worked with the red. It was, but it's like it was just very weird looking, and the noises were really odd too throughout the entirety of the movie.
Well, they made it seem like the orange was his like stomach acid, because at one point he got indigestion and they threw Pepto-Bismol in there.
That's one of my favorite parts of the movie. The bed gets indigestion. I like that. That's the only thing I can think of, that it is his stomach, and the narrator, the guy behind the painting, is constantly...
Yeah, and he ends up taking the bucket of chicken, too, and eating all the pieces of chicken and leaving the bone behind, and then pushing back up the bucket with all the bones.
But it kept the lid on, like
yeah, the lid was placed back
on it. Yeah, and I think like even the wine bottle, he put the cork back in it.
Yeah.
So he's trying to be like, I didn't do nothing, you know.
So they're making out, and the girl's all, I'm hungry. You know, she's trying to play it hard to get, I guess.
All right.
Because she doesn't want to go all the way. I don't know.
I think they were trying to be young. Like, I think it was trying to portray that this is like the first time, and they were just like young and in love type thing. But they were not that. They were like
in their 30s.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know. So there was that.
But yeah. So they stop and they go to eat, and they look at everything, and he opens.
No. The guy, he sort of like, he reaches over and goes into like he's laying down. He's trying to be like, hey, baby. And he reaches into the bucket, and then he just like moves the lid enough so he could get some chicken out of it. And he picks it up. He's like, I made a horrible mistake. And I'm like sitting there going, what? That you bought pre-eaten chicken? I mean,
no, he didn't say horrible. He said, I must have made a mistake or something. And then he picks up the bottle, and it's empty. And he goes, oh, I must have made some kind of mistake. And she's like, it's okay.
I didn't want to eat anyway.
I'm not that hungry.
No, she goes, I didn't want to eat anyway. and then she draws him back in, and they continue, takes off. We get our first titty rating in the movie on this one.
I don't remember how great they were or not. You have to remind me.
The titty rating was they're a 1.
It looks like a 4.
No, they were a 1.
Okay.
They were naturally. They're full and jiggly, but that was about it. I mean, you got like a brief glimpse of them, so you really couldn't.
Right. Yeah, before the screaming started, because the bed started bubbling up again and foaming, and they went inside the bed, and then nom 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 nom.
Yeah, and
Burp.
no, it wasn't nom 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 nom. It was. That was the sound of the bed eating. So people are made of apples.
You sound like a nice crisp gala.
Yes. So.
Ooh, you're kind of mushy. You sound like a Red Delicious.
Granny's turned into Granny Smith. So,
It's kind of messed up.
especially what happens to the Granny in this movie later on. So then we skip. I guess we don't really skip. He eats.
Well, I was incorrect about before the bed hadn't eaten in 10 years. That comes up a little bit later. So the bed eats them, and some time lapses. And the narrator, who is the guy in the painting, says the bed gets very upset because all these people go missing over the years, and, people hear about it. And so people don't want to come and visit the property because of all this stigma is attached to it. So therefore, the bed doesn't get to eat.
But the bed then starts destroying the property in like fits of temper tantrums. And
Right.
So it shows like how there's broken porches and stuff like that. And then it shows like bleeding statues. But it's like they did that in post-production. They just paint on blood tears onto them. So it's a really weird effect that the statues have. Just the look of them. It's just...
But yeah, the bed ends up getting upset because he hasn't eaten in 10 years, so he takes out his frustration on the house and starts tearing it apart. It never really explains. That's one of the things that irritates me about the film, is it never really explains how the bed has the power to interact with the house or control things around it.
Or why it needs a fire.
So,
Or why it needs a fire.
Why it needs a fire.
Yeah, it always shows when it's alone, it lights a fire in the fireplace. I'm assuming to keep warm.
Oh, I didn't explain that either. The next section is called Lunch. How appropriate. And the next scene after that, it shows three women traveling together. They're traveling in a red car down the road. One seems very insecure. She's always having these thoughts about what she thinks the other two women are thinking, and that they don't accept her. They're very close and all this kind of stuff. So she's very insecure, and she has a lot of very negative thoughts.
And another one that's just really, really quiet and just has long hair. And then we have the no-nonsense black lady who needs no man.
Right. And the whole point of them going out to this property was the older African-American lady. It's actually one of her friends who owns the property. And I guess she said that her friend hadn't been out to the property in a while. She owned it, and she knew that it was an older mansion or whatever, but she hadn't visited the property. Not her, but her friend hadn't visited the property.
And at no point does it really give what their relationship is with each other.
No, it doesn't explain it.
The only thing that it does is that they have this weird banter about flowers. Because the insecure one brings flowers with her. And they're like, oh, why did you bring flowers out to the country?
Yeah, and she's like, well, I thought they would be pretty. I thought they would lift our spirits being out there. And they kind of made fun of her because they were like, it's the country. Flowers grow wild in the country. Did you not think that there wouldn't be flowers in the country?
But then she's saying, like, oh, I wanted to take them home, but I was too chicken to do it. Like, she's like, I wanted them, but I was too chicken to take them home. And it was just it's just, like, it really explains nothing. But
so they get to the property and they walk around the grounds looking for the house.
they come across this little cemetery.
It's a small graveyard.
Mm-hmm. This is a little family plot. Mm-hmm. And so we see a woman in a coffin breathing.
Yeah. It kind of clips off to that. So Diane, who is the older black lady, she says, well, we know where they died. They must have lived near here somewhere. Suzanne, the anxious one who's really insecure, she ends up walking around, and they finally do find a small building. They think it's like a servant's type quarters.
And the bed opens the door.
Yeah. The bed opens the door so they'll come in.
And again, at no point does anybody go, huh, that's weird. The door is open. Well, everything else is locked. Because they go into they walk around the mansion and they're trying to get into this mansion.
No, the mansion's gone. He's destroyed it.
Oh.
The man and the woman, 10 years prior to that, did that.
Oh, okay.
And the doors were locked. Now, they're searching around this property looking for a mansion, and there is none. There's just that small building.
Well, I'm sorry, but the timeline for me on this one...
That the bed was secluded to, that's left.
Yeah, the timeline in this movie really makes sense.
The bed has destroyed the mansion.
Okay. So
Out of a fit of fury. Because he hadn't ate.
Yeah, it's so long.
Right. So, Suzanne, with her anxiety, says if the bed is too crowded that she would sleep on the floor. And Diana's like, the bed is plenty big enough for all three of us.
He's just trying to get it on. Oh, let's get it on.
I don't think that's the case. I think she just wanted them all to be comfortable.
And keep each other warm late at night.
Well, Suzanne says, well, I could sleep now, and then later on, I'll probably just read by the fire. So, if it's okay with you guys, that's what I'll probably do. And Diane's like, well, that's fine if that's what you want to do. So Diane and, what is the other girl's name? My brain is not wanting to work.
Something, it doesn't really matter.
Sharon. Diane and Sharon go out and scout around the property more and leave Suzanne in the room to get comfortable or whatever because she's going to go ahead and lay down.
Yeah, so Suzanne is getting all ready to lay down in bed. She
goes to the car and gets her things. Mm-hmm. And then she comes back to the room and
she puts on her pajamas. Mm-hmm. And then she looks at herself in a handheld mirror that cracks.
Yeah, and she's like, well, that's weird.
Yeah, at no point does she go, I wonder what could be going on. It's just like, oh, it's just a little trick mirror. She just sort of laughs it off, and then the bed sort of undoes itself.
Well, she pulls the covers back. She gets ready for bed. The whole mirror thing happens. She climbs into bed, and she thinks, if I ask them to drive me home, they'll have to. Because she talked herself into coming on this trip, and the longer she's there, the more she's unsure about it. Well,
She just put the bouquet of flowers down onto the bed.
The bed gives her nightmares that her mother is forcing her to eat bugs.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what else was on the platter. It was just this really disgusting mixture of gray goop
And grubs.
Yeah. And I mean, this is like the most terrifying part of this entire movie was this scene of.
So during her nightmare, the covers slowly slide off of her. And then her nightshirt slowly comes open. And her clothes slowly slide off. And what do you get?
Titty rating?
There you go.
So the titty ratings are what? You said, I think you said it was a 2.
Yeah, they're small, perky.
It looked okay.
Yeah.
But again, it was all laying
It's hard
down.
to tell when you're laying down. They're not quite as voluptuous as they normally would be.
And so she's laying down and she has a cross on her neck.
Yeah.
And that sort of plays this weird part. So he eats the cross off her neck.
The necklace, and then uses it to
It's like a saw blade
saw
into her neck.
into her neck. It's like they pull on. The bed pulls on one side of the necklace and then the other and just keeps pulling back and forth and saws into her neck like to saw her neck off.
And at no point does she wake up or struggle or anything.
No, because he has her wrapped up in that nightmare. He's just got her head wrapped up in that nightmare. And she slowly descends into the bed to be dissolved into his next meal. Mm-hmm. So, to make this even more ironic, he plants her skull in the front of the cottage. And inside her skull, he plants a rose bush.
Yeah, a red rose bush. And then we know more about the narrator. But the bed has this weird thing with Sharon. Like, it doesn't like Sharon.
No, it likes her. It doesn't want to hurt her.
Okay, but it makes him bleed. He basically gets an ulcer when he's around her. Because his stomach bleeds.
Yeah, well, the thing about Sharon is, Sharon has the same eyes of the one woman that he ever fell in love with. The demon.
Yeah. So, we go into more like the backstory of
how Deathbed came about.
Okay, so do we want to sort of... This is actually, I think, this is a really cool part of the movie. So,
we get into that in the movie, so if we talk about it now, we're going to be repeating ourselves. You're getting ahead.
I am getting ahead. Again.
Why do you do that?
I don't know.
So, we're getting there, but we're trying to get a little bit ahead.
I was thinking it was right at
Okay, so the red rose bush. Mm-hmm. The door to the room is once again opened in order for the others to come in. Sharon's brother is searching for her. The girls return and they can't find Susan anywhere, but they do see the beautiful red rose bush.
And every time you see the red rose bush, the camera pans
down below the soil for you to see the skull that the rose bush is growing out of.
Yeah.
Sharon takes one of the roses and takes it into the room and sits it on the bed. And the bed ends up eating the rose and it gives him horrible indigestion. I don't think it's because of the rose. I think it's because it's something that Sharon touched.
Yeah, but it gives it to the narrator.
Yeah, he ends up giving it to the artist in the painting.
Yeah, so he says, "Why do you keep giving me gifts?" Because you just see him he had the cross necklace. He has the rose.
Yeah, and he had a bunch of rings from people that he had eaten and other little
trinkets
things. Yeah. The girls went outside to eat their lunch. So the artist is very curious as to why Sharon is having this effect on the bed. And he's trying to make the connection with his past victims to try and figure out what it is about her that's bothering the bed so much. And in doing this, he figures out how the bed was originally created.
Well, he goes through, like, he's looking at all the rings that he has on his fingers. He has 10 rings. And he's going through sort of like all the victims quickly. So one of my favorite scenes is the Reverend. He's like in the bed, and the Reverend, he starts getting eaten by the bed, and he's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" "Oh well," you know, like just he's like, it was just a very weird, but it was hilarious.
Yeah.
And,
He's like,
yeah.
as he's being, all this foam's coming up around him, and the bed, he's slowly sinking into the bed, and he's like, and he's getting eat alive by the stomach acid.
Yeah.
And he's just like, what's going
So
on?
it goes through some of the other ones. A lot of them are forgettable. Another one of my favorite ones is there's this old lady. And you just sort of see her, she's like reading a book, you know, she's being a typical old lady. And then she picks up a magazine, opens it, and is World Lesbians. It's like an old, like, you know, like newspaper, like a naughty newspaper type thing. It says World Lesbians on it. And it's 2 naked females on it. And so you're like, Granny likes the lesbo lit, I see. And then... But it goes through all of it. And then we get to the point where, I guess, where it actually gets to a storyline of, it gets past the killing scenes. And it goes into this sort of like story on how this bed got a lot of its victims because, or came to that property. And... it was this guy, the original owner of the mansion, I believe. He got the bed, and he was like... It has something to do with sexual rejuvenation. And his idea was to basically take it outside for the sun. It was a whole scheme thing.
Right.
And, like, one guy he put on there, and he electrocuted him on the bed. Not to kill him, but just to, you know, ooh, tickled. You know, that the bed is actually doing something. And he's in cahoots with this other lady. And, but there's a big old, like, orgy scene.
Yeah.
And why I say it weirdly is because it does not sound like it. It sounds like a bunch of people laughing at a comedy club. There's some sheets. And it eats everybody. And the narrator was saying, well, that was your big feast. You slept for like 3 or 4 days or whatever. And then it goes into the actual origins of the bed. Now, I've never heard a mythos like this. So, supposedly a demon was sitting in a tree, and a piece of wind came and picked him up. And he turned into the wind. And he went past a woman that he fell in love with and had to go back, and then he changed to a human and gave her the gift of a bed, and she died. His eyes shattered, and he cried blood which fell onto the bed, and then the bed dissolved the
bed absorbed the blood
of the demon.
Right. So therefore it was possessed by said demon.
And so that's the link. And the demon sleeps once every 10 years. And that's the only time the narrator can speak out from his painting to basically tell them how to destroy said bed. So that's how we get... But, I mean, it took root and it craves flesh. That's how the bed came to be.
So the reason why he has the weakness he has for Sharon is because Sharon has the same eyes as the woman that he fell in love with, the demon.
And as the narrator put it, the mother of the bed.
Right.
So she gave birth to a 4-posted bed. That must have been difficult.
Yeah, it must have been painful.
Drugs.
So Sharon takes a drive to scout the area and search for Susan. Diane stays behind and she starts a fire and makes an observation that this place is clean for being abandoned for so long.
Yeah,
Wow.
the first time somebody even goes, "Hey, I wonder why this place is so clean. Was there a maid on duty or something? I don't know." And then, so she was going on about well, I hope a maniac that isn't cleaning. So I imagine sort of like this Unabomber type guy going scrub, scrub, scrub.
No, she's like, I hope there aren't any maniacs around. And I'm like, yeah, maniacs that clean.
Yeah,
Makes total sense.
Well, can you imagine some guy in a hoodie with a long beard that looks like the Unabomber, with the sunglasses going into there and going scrub, scrub, scrub.
He's dressed up like Mary Poppins.
Yeah, see,
It's a song that Mary Poppins sings.
No.
He's dressed up like Mary Poppins.
So he has long hair and it's all stringy and curly. He hasn't showered in a while.
Oh, God.
He has a big old beard, sunglasses on, right? And
That's awful.
No, I'm not done yet. So keep following me. And then he's wearing a sexy maid outfit with a cane of scrub bubble.
So she has her drink and she starts having her smoke. So she's having a smoke and she decides it's smart to lay down in the bed. Well, I don't know about you guys, but every night I'll be laying in bed and I have my phone and I'm scrolling through my phone and I will fall asleep with my phone in my hand and I will almost drop my phone in the floor before I wake up and realize I've nodded off with my phone in my hand, and I'll plug it up and I'll put my phone down and I'll roll over and I'll go to sleep. A cigarette is a heck of a lot lighter than a daggum phone.
Well,
You fall asleep with your arm over the bed with a cigarette, you're going to catch something on fire.
Well, I knew at least 2 or 3 people growing up that their houses caught fire because they fell asleep with a cigarette in their hand.
It happens every day.
Yeah, I used to smoke, and I never felt had a cigarette before I went, slept with a cigarette in my hand. I mean, that's just the stupidest thing ever.
Not smart.
So the cherry hits the bed, right? The cigarette cherry does, and you can sort of hear like it's starting to sizzle, and the bed actually does make a yelp sort of sound. So it does feel pain to some extent. Okay.
So she wakes to Susan sitting by the fire reading a book of dead people.
I think she called it the Book of Death or something like that.
Yes. She says she and her are both in the book. She wakes up and it was just a dream.
Well, it's sort of cool though because it's a blank book. She's flipping through it and they're like, "You're in here, I'm in here," stuff like that, and then like the fire jumps onto the book and makes it a mirror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to where she could see her reflection in it.
Yeah,
it was interesting.
And then I thought there's more going to happen on that one, but
yeah. Well, she wakes up and she's like, "Oh, that was crazy. It was just a dream." So she goes to get off the bed, and the bed starts sucking her in.
So here comes the longest part of this entire movie.
Yeah, this drags on pretty well. And she pulls herself out. Her legs are really far into the bed, and she managed to drag herself out. Her legs, her waist, her buttocks are all covered in blood.
Or ketchup, whatever.
Red-ish substance. She drags herself off the bed, crawls onto the floor, drags herself across the floor. Oh, now instead of just having a door that you go out of...
No, you did it wrong. She starts dragging herself. 5 hours later, she finally gets to the door.
No, she didn't get to the door. Now, instead of there just being a door that you go out of, now there's 5 stairs you have to go up. These magical stairs that just appeared because the bed controls everything.
Again, doesn't explain anything in this movie on how he does things.
So she has to climb up the stairs, but for some reason, the bed, since the bed tried to eat her legs don't function.
Yeah.
She can't use them. They're
At
like
all.
dead weight. So she's like army crawling without using her legs, just using her upper body up the stairs. She gets to the doorway. The bed like lassos her leg and drags her back in.
Yeah, and she gets all the way to, like, the door opens up and it lassos her, and you're like, why did I watch this?
As she is crawling out to the door, she yells. Sharon hears her moans and comes running. So she grabs her, but the bed is too strong and pulls her in. It eats her, slurps up her bloodstains,
Like a bowl full of spaghetti.
and makes up the bed.
Like nothing ever happened.
Sharon's brother is still looking for her.
Yeah, and he's sort of a dick driver.
Well, his mother told him he needed to find her, and he's taking it seriously. So, well, at this point, Sharon is very upset. I mean, she saw this bed inhale her friend.
And the narrator even points out that she's on her, like, last nerve of sanity. And the door keeps opening and closing. Like, it's taunting her. Like,
Well, she's sitting in the corner, like almost in the fetal position, just crying because she doesn't know what to do. And her brother gets there and is screaming her name outside. And the door opens. He goes inside. So he finally gets there and he comes in there to her. And she tells her brother what happened. And he says, well, we might have to cut it open. She might still be in there. She might be okay. Let's just cut it open. That was the worst decision you could ever do. Don't ever cut open a possessed bed to get somebody out. It's not a good idea.
so he goes over to the picnic basket, opens it up, grabs a big old long knife, goes over there, he's like, I'm the man of this film. I'm gonna cut this bed open. Moseys along's there. Lifts the knife over his head like he's down for business, and plunges it, and his hands go right into the stomach. But obviously the bed does not like knives because it spits it right out. I don't know if you got that or not.
Okay.
So, brother is getting his hands slowly dissolved.
Well, he stuck his hands all the way up to the elbows. Well, no,
Yeah.
past the wrist.
Past the wrist, yeah.
All the way in there, trying to feel around to see if he could feel something. Didn't get anything. He pulls his hands out. Only thing left, bone. So they build a fire, and Sharon's brother's sitting there just looking at his hands. And his fingers start falling off. He tells her, he says, I can't stand this. You're going to have to take them off. So she grabs his arm and she breaks his hands off. Then throws them into the fire.
For kindling, these bones burn.
Yeah, I mean, why not? They didn't have any more wood.
No. Bones don't burn, though.
Not all the way.
No.
So, the next title is Just Dessert. So at this point, the artist can talk beyond the painting.
Because the demon's asleep. He wouldn't happy now.
Because I guess all this trauma of being stabbed made the demon a little traumatized.
So I just imagine the demon like pulling up like a teddy bear in his blanket. It's like, it's time to go to bed. 10 years. Time to go to bed.
It's hibernation time.
Yeah.
I had me a nice feast. It's time to go night-night. So, he tells her to take her brother from here before the demon wakes. A circle of blood will have to be built.
There's a circle of wood. And
Okay.
then a circle of wood, and then outside. He told her to hide his brother.
Oh yeah, a circle of wood will have to be built. Build 2 joining circles with blood. Take your brother's bones and parts of your friend, put into one circle.
So basically, it's a circle 8.
A unity symbol.
Yeah.
And she did that, and then he tells her, oh, that didn't work. Well, another ceremony is needed. Really?
No. So what it's not that. It's like, no, you have to be set. It's that I knew you were not going to be strong enough to finish this ceremony. So, but it transports the bed outside of the room. So I guess the room is its power hub.
Or maybe it's weaker out in the elements. I don't know.
But I mean, I think it loses power because the demon is no longer connected to it because it's taken a nap. So this is the only way they can do it.
He says, to kill the demon, give the one life that gave him life.
So she had, but the chick had to sacrifice herself so the mother of the bed could be resurrected to fornicate with the handless brother.
They're outside, and his first love is naked and walking barefoot. The bed is outside, and she walks past it, and it goes aflame.
Because she's fornicating, like, yes, I think the point is that she breaks the heart of the demon, and the demon's like, oh, I guess I'm an idiot. Bed explodes. Deathbed logic.
And the very last thing that happens is the artist says to the demon, did you think I thought I would survive past you? No. Your undoing was my release.
And then somebody opens up a freezer door, and he leaves.
You see him behind the painting, and then you see this, like,
Ethereal smoke.
mist or whatever come up around him, and then poof, he's gone.
Yeah.
Freezer door.
That's what reminded me of. Alright, so the bed explodes. I mean, it goes up in flames.
Yeah.
The demon's eyes are now pieced back together. Everything, I guess, is good, and everybody's dead. So, alright, let's go into our ratings, and then sort of how I sort of felt about things. I give this movie a 2 out of 5.
What?
Yeah.
I thought this was one of your favorites. That's why it's our favorites.
Okay, I'm revising. I'll cut the 2. 3.5 out of 5. Because this movie is great for rifting. But for watching, it is horrible. Okay? The drag scene, I forgot how long that drag scene felt like it took half of a lifetime to get to those stairs, and you're like, please, just kill her. Let's move on. Okay. What's your score?
I never really write mine down. I always kind of do it on the fly type thing. Mm-hmm. There are very few unanswered questions in this film. And I
I feel this is like one too many.
I don't think there's a whole lot. but
Because there really wasn't much substance to the movie.
because there isn't a lot to
Yeah,
it, right? You know, well, and they give a lot of backstory.
Yeah.
For the most part, they fill in most of the blanks. At least what's pertinent to what's going on. Dune is going to get a spanking.
There's a dog out there.
So, I mean, they pretty well fill everything in, for the most part. Well, there's that. And it's so ridiculous, it's hilarious.
I know, but I mean,
And that's what I like about it.
I would have given it more if it wasn't for that drag scene. The drag scene just went on to.
It did go on for quite a bit, but
Okay, so here's some of my critiques.
I give it a 4 out of 5.
The noise in this movie is unnerving. Okay, it sounds like somebody who's deaf and who's never heard noise before filled in what they assumed noise sounds like.
But that's what makes it hilarious.
I know, but like
What would it sound like if an inanimate object were to eat?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the car engine. It didn't sound like a car engine. It sounded like a sound.
Oh.
You know, there was that underneath a lot of that sound.
I don't know.
There was the it sounds like an apple type thing, and the blood sounded like somebody was sucking it through a straw. Like the bed had a straw and was like, "Oh, there's blood on my sheet."
But if we were to make a movie like this, we would do that because it's ironically
I know.
funny. So that's why I don't nitpick about stuff like that because it's freaking hilarious. Okay, Deathbed, the bed that eats trivia. Okay, number 1. It was filmed almost entirely at the Garwood Mansion on Kilson Island in Detroit. The mansion has long since been completely demolished. That is sad. Number 2. Comedian Patton Oswalt. Nope.
Yeah, Patton Oswalt.
Okay. Mentions the movie on his 2007 CD, Werewolves and Lollipops, where he does a stand-up routine on it, mistakenly referring to it as Deathbed, the bed that eats people. He even specifically tells people to look up the movie on the IMDb to verify that he wasn't joking about its existence.
And this is actually how the movie got traction. This is actually how I heard about the movie.
He also does a stand-up bit about the movie. Number 3. Until its official DVD release in 2003, Deathbed had been circulated via pirated bootlegs and unbeknown to George Barry, the film had gained an underground fan base. George said he discovered people discussing it on the internet one evening and decided to put the film on an official video release. And that was that. Okay, number 4. Filming began in 1972. And answer print was struck in 1977, but the film was not released until 2003. The director George Barry's inspiration for Deathbed came in a dream, which the film's bizarre, surreal nature is attributed to.
He said dream. I say copious amounts of drugs.
The artist dies of TB in the film.
Tuberculosis.
Yes. His room was surrounded by Audrey Beasley Drawings, who also died of TB.
that's some trivia for Deathbed, the bed that eats.
That is Deathbed.
I do believe that this is George Barry, like I said earlier, George Barry's only film. I don't think he came out with another one.
I don't know.
Because I think he he put all of his money into making this movie. And he didn't even release it. So yeah.
He didn't put a lot of money into it.
Well, but still to plan out an entire budget like that, it's pretty, to film an entire project is...
$30,000 was the budget. I mean, $30,000 is quite a bit of money, but
especially in
the
70s.
film world, it's not.
But in 77, it's...
Yeah, that was a lot of money then. Yeah, I guess it was.
So, if you finance it yourself, it would have been it would have been an undertaking. Today, no, it's not that much. But
No.
back then, it was.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I suppose so. Then it would be a lot of money.
So that ends up this month. And we have next month.
That is not all of our favorite films, but those are the ones that we selected for January.
Yes. So what is our theme for next month?
Let's see. Next month is February, and it's Bloody, Bloody, Not So Valentine.
So if you're like us and you don't like Valentine's, get ready for some bloody, bloody action. That sounds really gross.
Well, we wanted to do things that were bloodily Valentine-y, but without being so corny Valentine-y.
Okay, so we're at the end of the movie. We're end of the month. We're going into the next. So let's mention our iTunes.
Yes, please check us out on iTunes and
Rate us, comment on us
yes.
on iTunes, on any podcatcher you might be listening to us on. Share, retweet, tell your friends, bug your neighbors about us, blast us from the rooftops.
And our obnoxious Luna is now on YouTube, so you can go check out her videos of her doing silly, silly things.
Luna things.
Luna-esque things.
We still have the Red Bubble up. Possibly a Teespring in the near future. We're going to start either we have or will be starting very shortly another podcast on the vegan diet.
Yes, Bunnyman and I both eat a plant-based diet, and I'm going to be starting a podcast called Dying for Plants. So if you'll be interested in that, we can start leaving a link, and we'll probably have links to it on our Facebook page and things like that, to where you guys can check it out if you're interested.
Even in the comments. Once we get that started. So that's another thing to look forward to if you can't get enough of our voices.
I don't even like the sound of my own voice, unfortunately, but I guess I'll just have to get over that. But anyway, I am going to be listing our schedule a month at a time on our Facebook page. Probably not Twitter, just because there's a limited amount of text that can be used. I'm trying to get into the habit of vlogging more on our... What is it called?
On our WordPress.
WordPress, yes. So I will probably also list our schedule there too. And so you can view our schedule
On our WordPress.
on the following month. So say the last month of January, you can view February's schedule, so you will know what we're going to be doing for the next month. It is a tentative schedule, however, so it is subject to change, but most likely it will not change.
And all our links will be located down in the comment section, or the comment section, not the comment section, but what the space that you put the stuff in to tell people where to go.
Links?
Yeah, but on the iTunes, it tells you get there's that section that allows us to put stuff in. I
don't know.
Yeah. I'll just explain it, and everybody else can tell me what it is.
Anyway, if you guys ever have any suggestions for us on movies that you would like us to do commentary on, or if you have any short films or anything like that that you would like us to give our opinion on, you can message us on our Facebook or WordPress or Twitter.
Or if you just want to sort of like see what's going on, you give any sort of comments you want on our stuff.
Those three things are things that we are on pretty much every day: Facebook, Twitter, and WordPress. So if you leave us a comment or a message on those, you will probably get a response pretty fast.
Yes. So I think that's it for this episode. So everybody says, good night. Don't let the bed bugs bite. But in this case, good night. And don't let your bed eat you.
Nom 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 nom.
Nom, nom, nom. No, you're doing it wrong. It would be actually funnier if it went nom 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 like Pac-Man. It's
It's
Pepto-Bismol.
scary how you make it sound exactly the same. We'll scare you later, guys.
Bye.